recording, but when I start, like, we didn't need to have our conversations, right? It just doesn't need to be on the internet, right? So again, I'm trying to cover some fundamental concepts. So creating a static homepage with multiple loops. What that means then is if we go to my demo, right? If we go to this home page or my home page, home is now a page in the dashboard. It's using then frontpage.php. This right here then is being pulled by loop 1, our normal loop. This right here is being pulled with the secondary loop. Okay, so we can have as many loops on a page to do certain things that we're trying to do. And we'll talk about some of those fundamentals. Then if we go back to the schedule, creating a custom post feed with featured images. So I want to cover using featured images, how to pull thumbnails, how to pull the large size featured image, right? Instead of pulling it by the content function within our loop, well, how do you use, again, if we go to my, I got my YouTube feed thing on my blog figured out, Douglas. I had to actually pay for the latest tube press. So I'm interested to see if I can now take that and use it on multiple sites, or if they're going to bust me for that, right? But one way, shape, or form, I got that running. So this right here, as well as being a very cute job, is a thumbnail that is being pulled as the featured image from that actual post, right? If we go, no, let's not go to that one because it's probably not. So if you go to this one right here, what I'm saying is there might be some non-classroom projector appropriate images. You can understand what I'm saying, right? This here, again, is the pull the attachments for the flex slider. I'm not sure if we're going to get to that or not in this quarter. I do have a write-up that you can do it as extra credit, right? But we'll see about that. But if we go to my business site and we look at the blog feed here, or the home page, this is loop 1. This is loop 2, right? Pulling these. This right here is pulling the thumbnail of the featured image. This is pulling the large size of the featured image. So I don't have to place this one in the rich text editor, and it automatically gets pulled with code. So I want to cover doing that. Again, that's really useful. Going back to the schedule. I want to talk about using custom fields. You can see the lecture here is totally written up and complete. It's a joke, I haven't written it up yet. I also want to talk about using widgets, right? We sort of talked about using widgets, but how do we actually initialize them, so on and so forth. Again, week 8, Memorial Day. I have a love-hate relationship with holidays. I like days off. That's always fun, but days off means that we're kind of behind, we get behind. Here is then the search engine optimization in WordPress. So what we're going to do there is we're going to take a little bit closer of a look. How many of you know about like the Yoast all-in-one SEO plugins, right? Those kind of plugins. I don't think you need to use those. I think they write duplicate content. So I'm going to show you guys how to set things up using, in other words, we can use our page excerpts and our postings excerpts to then populate our meta description field. I will show you how to write a function in the functions file and place it in a better title tag etc. Here's the thing, week 10. Right now, I have week 10 as create a flex slider gallery using attachment images. So pulling that into your site somehow. But I also know that week 10 also is typically a get or done week, and people might be behind. So I'm not sure how we're going to handle that just yet, because I'd like to have this as the get or done week. If you notice, finals week, this will be an open lab kind of week. Do we really need to present projects in here? Not really. It's not design, right? Oh, look, I did what Mike told me to do in code, and here it is. My CSS isn't done quite yet, but I learned how to do this, right? That does not make for very interesting presentations, but really, although, right? But that's what would happen, right? Does that really need to happen? Or do I, again, a lot of times during finals week, I want you guys to fill out the class evals. So what I typically do is have class evals and presentations on the same day. So that means everybody has to show up and then do the class eval. Again, I'm not, see what I'm saying, right? Because I want everybody to do them instead of, oh, I'm going to do the class eval on a lab day and nobody shows up. That's not that's kind of a biased eval, right? So then all assignments are due Friday, June 19th. Somewhere in there will be a let's go to Charlie's kind of thing. Yeah, right? Huh? Yeah, I'm saying, you know. So hopefully by all of that, in other words, what I'm trying to do with this class is, I don't expect you to become, by taking this class, at the end of this class, know everything there is to know about WordPress, because that would be 5 or 6 classes, right? But you should have the fundamentals under your belt of the pieces of the puzzle to do this, that then it shouldn't be too much for you to just say, I want to do this. Do I do that? Meaning, did anybody see over the weekend that all of a sudden on my school site, there was a new navigation structure down at the bottom? No? So, Chris, let's have a conversation about my site being responsive, because this is, I almost put, I'm doing this for you, Chris, right? But what I'm doing right now is, what I have to do for my, again, why my school site is not responsive just yet. I'm not trying to make excuses. Yes, I am trying to make excuses. But the thing is, I am using custom fields to tell these pages up here to show up in the utility navigation. I'm using custom fields to tell these to show up in the main navigation. These, again, are sub-pages, and I'm using custom fields to tell them show up under class, show up under lectures, show up under assignments, etc. So here's what I'm trying to do. I could use WP list pages, and it would just list out my whole page tree, but it wouldn't put these into camps like that. So that's not an option. In other words, if I need to make a responsive menu that works like this, in other words, these subpages underneath their parent page, right? Then I need to split those into camps. I'm not using the WP navigation system because my admin would just be one big mess. I mean, I have 300 pages in my site, right? What I want to do is every time I just write a page, it shows up where I want to show up without me doing the navigation in the admin. So with the fundamentals that I showed you guys about list pages, right? Hopefully you could then, if you have a problem, in other words, my hope is that if you have a problem to solve like that, because that seems like a pretty, I have this problem, I have to solve it, that seems pretty real world. I might have a scenario like that or something completely different of that magnitude on a site out there that somebody is expecting me to do for money, right? So I need to then solve that problem, meaning I need to take my fundamentals and write some new code, right? So if we go then to the GitHub, what I've got going on in my footer right now, which I've commented out for the time being, is for each parent as post. In other words, these right here are using the same if post parent. Write out the subpages, use the custom fields to split them out into class, lecture, assignment, exercise, team, student, etc. I can't use the typical list pages function for main, because how do I take a submenu and put it just after the closing list item for each one of the mains, right? So I have to either split the list pages function into each of its list items, but how do I split it exactly at the ending of that anchor tag? In other words, opening up this list item, et cetera, right? Anchor tag, nest in the submenu, split the submenu into then those camps of class assignment, et cetera, so on and so forth, right? So for parents, then, parent is equal to get pages. Actually don't need this one in the array, but get pages of meta key, navigation, meta value, main, right? Here's where I'm stuck. I am trying to then pass through this list item the you are here classes, right? Current, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm stuck where I'm writing my own function if we're on a page and we're on the page post ID. In other words, if I'm on the WEB170 page, that is the post ID of WEB170. It will then return current page item. It will then write current page item here where I've written get menu classes. Here's the problem. Else if is the parent of post ID. Notice I have a variable there, and that variable does not equal anything. Because for the last week, I've been trying to get that to equal the correct formula to then say if I'm on a subpage, right? What I want to do is say that parent, if that parent has a subpage with the current ID, I want that parent to have the ID or the class of current, not the other one, so I can do the UR here. So what I have to basically say is if parent of post ID. If anybody can figure that out for me, I will buy as many pictures as you want, within reason, up to 10. Because look at you, you're like, damn. Do you understand what I'm trying to get at here? I think so. Okay. If you can solve that for me, right? I have to call in the big guns. I got Thomas coming tomorrow, right, to help me out with this problem.
Oh, well,
yeah. So if you can, yeah. But I don't know if it because it has to have the functionality. It's got to be in there somewhere. I just can't figure out how to post it. But my main thing is by the fundamentals that I'm teaching you in this class, and the fundamentals of you guys know how to write a function, you guys know how to write a for each loop, et cetera, you should be able to put those two together to solve a lot of problems and write your own custom functionality inside WordPress. That's starting to happen a little bit, right? Good. That's my goal with this class. Right? Okay. That being said, like I said, yeah.
Why is that an else if with no ending else?
It did have an else. Right now, in the latest code that I haven't uploaded to GitHub, it's just another if statement. It's not an else if. Okay. Yeah, I uploaded it to, just like you guys, my final code is not uploaded to GitHub.
No, that's understandable.
That was good. That was good. Touche, right? Yeah. It's because I was going to have an else, but I realized that, well, this doesn't need to be an else if, it just is if this or if that, right?
Well, yeah, no, I'm just asking you
Yeah.
that something third or fourth happens.
It did at one time, but I realized that, because I was going to say else just page item. In other words, current page item, current page parent, or else page item. But I realized, well, I just don't need page item, so I took it out of there and just, it's just not complete. It's just the same way of this is a variable, and that variable has no value at all because I haven't figured out that value, what it needs to be for that condition, right? But anyway, that's my hope, is that you guys can, after this class, be able to push it farther like that and work some solutions out. That being said, what we're going to do today then is we're going to create a static page, home page, and we're going to use multiple loops, right? I don't feel like this is too rocket sciencey. Well, let's say it like this. It's WordPress. WordPress isn't too rocket sciencey. WordPress is mainly a big puzzle that you kind of have to figure out, right? Using their framework, because they've put all the pieces together. You just need to dig out the pieces, put them in a hierarchy, and give some conditions, right? So it makes someone like me, who studied graphic design, who has then self-taught himself every last piece of code he knows, right? Sometimes I wish that I would have gone and gotten a CS degree instead of a graphic design degree. But maybe that's just because, well, I've done design for 20 years and I'm more interested in code now, but whatever. But for somebody like me, who is a designer, who's self-taught in code, then WordPress is that perfect solution where I don't have to build a content management system for anybody. It's already built. I just have to use that content management system to build a website for someone, right? So what we need to do now is, like I said, what we're attempting to do is making our front page like this. And this is where I had you guys do a main page and a home page. How many of you guys did have a home page that had a slider and a couple of widget boxes? Okay. Again, if you didn't, whatever, you can put it in later. Doesn't matter to me. But the three kind of pieces, again, if we're going to pull images here for using a slider, our home page needs to have a slider somewhere. For using loop 1 and loop 2, I don't care if your loop 1 and loop 2 are side by side, just straight one after the other. I don't care, as long as you put the functionality in. Does that make sense? Right? I don't care if you have this or not over there. All I care is that you just have slot 1, slot 2 for loop 1 and loop 2, however you have it. Okay? But what we need to do, we've already sort of done this. In other words, if I go and log in to, actually, if I go to this one and go to SP15, right? Yep, that's it. What's up, Mark? How you doing? Good? Good. If I log in here, I forgot to show you guys how to put a login button in there. Once we get in there, I'll show you guys that. Okay. Right now, if we go to pages, we do not have a home page at all. Okay. If we're going to do a static page, so if we go under settings, reading, I can't remember which it is. Yeah. Did I already create a page? I did.
towards the bottom.
I created that the last time. There it is, home. Did any of you guys create a homepage?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have not created a homepage, right? Let me just use my business site as an example. You know what I kind of really want to do? I sort of want to just quit my job and do an internship with Thomas at the Seattle Times to do JavaScript work. That's how, huh?
What do you pay you?
I don't know, but I kind of wish I had $1 million where I didn't have to work and I could go do that. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, yeah, life would be
Yeah.
that much more interesting.
Like I said, those are the things that I think about late at night. Getting to know your instructor. So if I have pages here, I have a page called Welcome. Why is it called Welcome? I don't know. Just when I set this up that long ago, I used the term welcome. I used to get conflicts if I were to call the file home.php. Home.php would conflict with index.php. So before I knew about the file extension front-page.php, which I don't know when that came into play, right? But if I were to go to Git and go to my repository for Premium Design Works, I actually have a file. I did. There it is. It used to be named welcome.php. Then I changed it to pagehome.php. You'll see here, this is where I made it its own template. So I guess you want to talk about how templates work real quick, Mark?
Yeah.
Sure. So let's say you need a template that is outside of the WordPress core template system, right? So that's what I was essentially doing here. I didn't know that there was a front page, so I did page home, okay? Well, if I want to use that template outside of the WordPress template framework, then I have to put this in there so that if I'm here on what is essentially the home page, edit, I would choose then not default template, but home page, right? So we can have as many different templates as we want to then choose what page gets what template. That's where in the first generation of the RAW one, this is where I had templates for Spotlight yes, Spotlight no, before I wrote that little condition, right? Because again, when I first did that, it was 5 years ago. You learn things in 5 years to do things a little bit different, okay? But that's essentially how you can do a template page.
So how do you just having that little bit of code registers it?
Yes, so to register it as a template page, you would then need to put template name, whatever name, inside of a PHP script tag using the syntax of the comment.
That's it.
That's it. This then designates it as a template page that you can choose within the admin. Template pages, check. See? Okay, but what we're going to do is we've already set up front dash page, right? As our, did everybody do front dash page? In other words, if we go to the Dreamweaver and I have to import my site. WEB170. In other words, if we go to our theme, some of you have not broken your site into separate files yet, right? So if you have not broken yours into separate files yet, I'm assuming that you don't have a front dash page because you haven't broken it into separate files. If you did break it into separate files, again, this front dash page is new to me within the last, I don't know, 6 months, right? Oh, come on, let me. Keep tab group open. I forget how to do that. So yeah, front dash page is new to me, right? But here is where then I wouldn't have to put up at the top that it's a template page to use as my home page template, because if we're on the front page, it's going to then just use front dash page, okay? How many of you did a front dash page? Good. So if you have done that, now what we need to do is if I go to my templates then, and I go to home.html and open that up, right? This is where then I have inside my middle flex slider, widget for the about me, widget for the latest postings, etc., widget for the contact me. So basically what I want to do is copy. Again, you can copy and paste because you already wrote it. Inside content, I'm just going to, for organizational sake, overwrite the initial loop that I had in there, okay? So, if I do that now and go back to my site, no longer does it say Mark, but it now has a broken slider in it. It has about me text. It has latest postings, contact me, and my sidebar is in there. Do I want my sidebar on my home page? Nope. Get sidebar. No. Save. Don't show me this message again. Refresh. My sidebar is gone. What's going on here? And content, that's what it is. I don't need content in there because that's the copy column. So let me check my, get rid of my content div, still have my front page call there, right? Again, your design is going to be your design. But what I had was basically the contents was my column for content. My sidebar was my column for sidebar. In my header and my footer, so if I open up header, I thought I told you to not show me that again. This is a reason why, you know, I maybe wasn't a CS major or didn't go into brain surgery or something. Might be. So in my header, I have my open middle, right? My white middle area, okay? So now if I say front page, and I go back here, first and foremost, my image slider is broken, right? So right now, I have the call to those images, right? What should I do? In other words, this pathway, where is that pathway actually going? Well, this theme lives in its own, in other words, this file right here, front-page, lives in a theme folder, in themes, in WP content, in a WordPress folder, right? So I have now, because I just copied my template folder, I have those images here in my images folder. What do I do? See how I'm now making you guys troubleshoot my code? Isn't that fun? Yeah? No? One? Template directory.
Yes.
Now, when I do that, remember, don't forget that / here, okay? So for those other images, and this is just a temporary solution because eventually what I want to do is, oops, was right. Yeah. Good thing I'm not a surgeon because I'm just not paying that much attention.
Your attention to detail.
It's just, I know, you know. So again, here is where this is just static for right now, meaning I'm pulling images out of my images folder. For right now, yay, it works fine. But what if the client then wants to upload new photos, right? So again, the good thing about a content management system, the client can maintain their content. Bad thing is they're going to screw it up. But what I want to do after a while would be and this is that one lecture that I'm not sure we're going to get to, but if I go to page-home and look at, I'm going to leave this one open because it has the 2 loops in it as well. I've made this add flex slider function. In my functions.php file then, this is how we can use our functions file. What do you think you can store in your functions file, Mark?
Functions.
Right. Add flex slider. So what I have to do is I have to set up a variable that gets children and it gets children things. If attachments, right? If there are images attached to the posting, start the flex slider markup for each attachments as an attachment ID, right? List item, get the image full, span, get the comment, description field, et cetera, and close it out. So this right there, eventually, if I uploaded these photos to the home page, right, I would need to use more dynamic code like this to pull those images from the home page that are uploaded to the home page and put them in the flex slider markup. Does that make sense?
When you say upload it to the home page,
Just like we uploaded an image into our media gallery.
how would the client designate that as a home page?
There it is. So if I'm on the home page here for Premium Design Works, right? If I go to add media, well, I'm not really adding media, but what I'm going to do if I say add media is it basically takes me to where I can upload stuff. So what I want to say is look for uploaded to this page. So if I then upload, so see the images that are uploaded to this page, they then get pulled through that function and get displayed here as the flex slider.
So they're not, so in that little, your little visual box that shows the page, you're not actually adding the image into that box, you're just telling the media library to upload it to the page.
In other words, if I wanted to add a new spotlight photo here,
yeah.
Shall we break my business site for the time being?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay.
What if you have other images on that page as well as the flex slider? How is it going to know it's a
Right.
flex slider images versus just any images on the page?
Like if you add one into the little box, the edit box, you know, versus.
Don't.
No, don't have any more images?
Right,
Okay.
right. And that's where
Or we
that
have
one
the right
solution
complex
isn't always the right
function,
solution.
Like a different function if you wanted to
Yeah.
do something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. In other words, if where this design came from was here, where I have a slideshow at the top of each blog posting. Well, if I put uploaded images and put them down here, they would show up here. So I don't. On the home page, these images right here are not being called from the rich text editor. They're being called from loop 2. Okay, so how this is broken down, flex slider, that function, loop 1, that gets the contents of that page. So if I close this, here's the content on that page. Here's my SEO written content that then gets placed here. Okay. These images then, this is basically, because we're not basically on a home page going to be inserting images. I mean, it all depends on your design, how you're doing it. And it all depends on how you just configure and design everything and come up with the solution that you need to that is for your page. So I'm feeding my blog feed, right? So if I go to my blog feed, articles, case studies, tutorials, here's my blog feed that, again, we are going to do a blog feed using excerpt and thumbnail, right? This feed is being then fed into here. So it is basically content that is written once and being used in a certain place, okay? So if I look at index.php on my business site, here's the loop. While have post the post. You don't actually have to say if before you say while, right? I'm putting in a little SEO paragraph. I'm also saying treat the title a certain way, right? But for that feed, I'm saying write an article tag, write a headline tag, byline, title with a link to the posting, the excerpts. So I'm using the excerpt function instead of the content function, full story link and article. I'm also Where is it? Where is it? Saying, get the featured image size thumbnail. Okay. So what if I want to take this blog feed thing and put it somewhere else on my website? Can I? Yes. Okay. This then is the idea of multiple loops, right? So let's kind of ditch the flex slider thing for the time being. We've solved it, and that way. So again, if I go to my home page here, loop 1, about us, just written statically. If have posts, oh look, I used the if statement there. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Who knows when that's going to happen, right? The content, okay? That populates this, because if I'm on the home page, I have then my little SEO written content in the rich text editor, and that's it. Notice also that I have a page excerpt, right, down here. But what I want to do, or what's happening here, is right now, this is written statically, meaning I'm here on my home page now. This is hard-coded. So are these. This is hard-coded. So are these. So how do I pull this content dynamically from the home page? How do I pull the titles to my latest postings dynamically, right? Is that question making sense to you? Yeah? So again, loop 1, loop 2. Let's go put loop 1 into our front dash page, right? I'm just going to use the short version. Right. Well, I'll have posts, get the content of it, and voila. Hopefully I didn't make any errors. So if I go back here, instead of this being hard-coded, well, let's go now and edit this page and see what's in there. So now that I have home set up, submark, okay, loop 1. that should be just copy some more and some there. Page. So remember how I've talked about the SEO snippet of text? This is just where I use my SEO snippet of text. Update. View page. So now my little SEO snippet of text, right? But right now, these latest postings are basically just dummy. They don't go anywhere, right? So if I go back to my demo that I do before class and I view it, these are not static. In other words, I have created in my demo, I got rid of my hello world and I am recording this lecture postings. And these now actually go to that posting with the featured image, right? So Donek Elephant Libero at Sagatis. I don't know, whatever that says, right? It's all Latin to me. Anyway, that then headline gets fed here. Okay, so if I want to do that same thing, right? In other words, that is similar to how then on my home page, on my home page of my business site is more complex, is more complicated, right? It's still grabbing the SEO text, right? But it is grabbing a headline that links to that posting, an excerpt, a thumbnail, a full story, a byline, okay? But it's still the same concept in terms of loop 2. So here's the thing. I have to stop loop 1. Never forget to stop loop 1, Mark. Otherwise, you'll get maybe not a complete infinite loop, but something that looks similar to an infinite loop. Okay? So, under our latest postings headline then. So I am basically going to get rid of those. Right? So if I refresh, we go back, close that one, I refresh. Now those are gone. Okay? So I want to use a function called rewind posts. Okay? So if we go to the lecture that we're supposed to be following, let's see, we've created a home page in our admin, set our home page, or set a static page to be home, set our post page to be blog, customize our static home page, throw our flex slider in there, and everything else statically, solve our flex slider issue by putting in the proper pathway. In this case, I just used the pathway to the templates. In the other one, I used the pathway to my images folder. Creating our homepage loops, we've now created loop 1 that pulls the content. Now we need to create loop 2. So we need to use this rewind post function. Let's go see what it does. Rewind the loop posts in order to reuse the same query in different locations on the page. Okay? What that means to me is, well, if I wanted to make a dupe of the main loop, I could rewind posts and just use another loop, and it would give me the same content. Okay? rewind posts. So let's say that now I just copied that same loop that I had up there. I've never tested this. We're in dangerous territory here. So let me test what's going to happen. I'm thinking that it's just going to stop this loop and write a duplicate one. See if that's how I interpret that. Sure enough, it pulls the content from the rich text editor again. How useful is that? Pretty much slim to why would you do that? Okay. So instead, what we need to do is, if we look here, we need to give directions to our second loop. Okay. So if I said here, using the query post function and pass the argument show posts equals 5 through that function, right? Again, this is on my business theme. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Show the 5 latest postings. Okay. So if I did something, so again, this content, right, pulls the content from the rich text editor. So if I said, going back here, query posts, show posts equals 5. Posts. Post or posts? Can't remember. Show posts. Save. What do you think it's going to do, Evan?
Show 5 posts.
What of those 5 posts? The content, right? Again, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants, but that's what I think is going to happen. Sure enough, showing some kind of posting of something. That's not what I necessarily want. So here's where then we don't always have to use the content function, right? That's where we can use something like the excerpt. The excerpt then will, if I go to my blog now, and I wait, I'm recording this lecture, hello world. If I open up, I'm recording this lecture, and I edit this post, here's the excerpt field for that posting. I'm just going to type in excerpt 1. I should have an excerpt there, but we'll talk more about that when we get into the SEO stuff. Update. view post, go back to the blog feed, hello world, edit post.
To do all this stuff even if we don't
No.
have this on.
I want you to do some of it.
Some of it.
In other words,
That's what I've had to do a lot, is adapt kind of my site to what we.
yes.
And you want us to do that.
Yeah, I don't, in other words, no offense, your design doesn't matter a whole lot to me.
Okay.
What matters is that you wrote your shell code. I didn't. And then you're basically taking what I'm showing you as exercises and putting it somewhere in your site. I don't care where, put it in there somewhere. And if you think to yourself, well, that looks stupid, well, make it look better.
Yeah.
Or expand on it. In other words, what I'm hoping is I'm teaching you the fundamentals so you can say to yourself, oh, go back to your design and say, what do I want to do here? And you should be able to look it up and be able to do it based off the fundamentals I'm showing you. Does that make sense? But at bargain basement for this class, just go in and do what I'm doing into your site.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't have a blog on my site, so I just threw it in there.
Right. Because you had to for Mike's class. Perfect. That's exactly, yeah. So excerpt 2, right? Update that. So what should happen is, now I don't have 5 postings to show. I have 2 postings to show, right? But if I now go back and visit the site, I should have excerpt 1 and excerpt 2, right? In other words, it's pulling data from the latest 5 postings, even though there was only 2 of them, right? So basically what we're doing is we're stopping loop 1. We're then using the query post function to give directions to loop 2. So let's go explore the query post function. So what I'm doing is query posts. Oh, in my demo I said 4. Okay. If we go to this query post function, then we're basically doing this. Directions for this loop. And in this case, because they didn't stop loop 1, there was no loop 1 to stop, they're saying reset the query. In other words, don't use that for the next one. Does that make sense, sort of? Okay. We can then pass a whole lot of different arguments through there, like category 3, only from the year 2004, right? So if I said, show posts 4, show 4 posts from category 3. Does that make sense? So if I said, if I had on my site then, if I wanted to have, I don't know, in my sidebar, latest from this category, latest from that category, latest from this category, or whatever I want, all I have to do is write multiple loops, right? And get directions to them. So let's see. Blog. I'm recording this lecture is category, what category? News. Okay. What number is it? Categories. News. Let's just use the slug. See if that works. that might not work. Let's see what hello world was. Hello world. Edit. Category. Crap. Yeah, so that didn't work. It just pulled both of them because, let's see. Category, I think 1 should probably be news. Yeah. Category, let's see. 2 should be the other one. Nope. Let's go back and take a look at the arguments. Category, category 1, category slug. It's probably something I'm looking for. Category name, my category slug. Category name. It is category slug. Category slug equals news. This is the old way of passing arguments right here, just all kind of in line like that. So I'm not positive that that's the right way to call that argument. Nope. Since it's the old one, let's see. Example 1, passing variables to arguments category. Here, for post, for string, post per page, cat, number. Oh, I'd have to look it up to see. In other words, if I command Z a little bit, what I've got here is essentially this is similar to the array like we did the other day. It's just the old way of doing it, the legacy way of doing it, where show posts then is the key, equals 5 is the value. Then notice that there's that ampersand right there. That's how you separate them. Category equals 2. Okay, I'll let you guys look up whatever arguments you want to do, but we're basically going to pretty much say show posts 4 or 5. Again, do we want to show the excerpts or title? Who says the title of the posting?
Yeah.
Did you guys fall asleep? Yay! I'm recording this lecture, hello world. But why are they sitting like that? Instead of how I want them. Let's go take a look. Oh, they're just written kind of Willie Nelson in there, right? Oops. Okay, yeah. So here's the thing, right? And this is what I noticed on 1. This right here is outside the loop. Okay, so I could very well put it wherever I wanted to, as long as it's outside the loop. In other words, what I want to do is basically have the title appear in a set of list items with a link to those items. So this is where I just kind of got to piece the parts of the puzzle together, where I'm saying, okay, now I write a UL that is outside the loop. Okay, if I, within the loop, then open up a list item, close a list item, that's where, while there are postings, get the post, while, well, let's say, for less than four postings or less, write out each of them in a list item in a parent UL. Is that making sense so far? Did you count to 3 though? All right. Yay. Now, right, there you're getting it, right? So now, outside of the loop, there's just, one UL. Because if I did this, now it's inside the loop. This loop is pretty much your standard, well, let's put it this way. They don't call it a loop for nothing, right? All of you should be familiar with for loops, while loops, etc., right? For I equals 0, or I equals 1, or I equals whatever, as long as I is less than 10, right? I plus plus, right? Whatever the variable is, or whatever conditions you've set up, right? This is similar. Show only 4 postings. So for 4 or less postings, now I'm saying write a UL tag, write a list item tag, write a UL tag. So now that's wrong in terms of now I have 2 UL tags. So that's incorrect. But exactly what you said, right? I have the title. Just going to put a temporary anchor tag in there. All right. Save it. What do I want to do? And where and why? Somebody walk me through what I'm trying to do. You nailed number 1. I need to put an anchor tag. Okay.
Well, you wanted to go to that posting.
Yeah. So essentially, in that href tag, right? What do I call? We went over it once.
The permalink?
The permalink. Magic. And that's it for today. So you have a little bit of catch-up time. So that's all I had for this week. So Wednesday will be open lab to get your stuff done. Is this starting to make sense though? Huh?
Watch the video.
Yeah. The videos are helping, yeah? That's cool.
Just the weather and
Yeah. You know, at least, you know, no, I mean, you guys are paying attention, you know? I'm assuming it's quiet because it's that interesting and you guys are focusing that much. Thanks, Emily.
exactly right.
All right. On that note, how do we sign off today, Curtis?
Audi 5000 G.
Ollie 5000G?
Audi.
Audi 5000. Not Ali G 5000. All right.
No, Audi G is a little too gangster.
Yeah. All right. See you later.